Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the 10th anniversary celebration of the Carroll Nonprofit Center. We are about to start in a few minutes, but first I'd like to call your attention to our musicians, Walt Michael and Company, who are about to perform a very special musical arrangement.
Hi! Hi! Oh, it's a privilege to be here. We were here 10 years ago at the beginning of this great adventure here. And I think that this center distinguishes us in the state from being dedicated to the work of nonprofits. And I would be remiss as the director of a nonprofit to not tell you quickly about Common Ground on the Hill this summer, which will feature, I've got to do it, my board will fire me, which will feature none other than Jose Feliciano. Yes. July 9th. So your job as fellow non-profiteers is to support us this summer in bringing many, many people to the Fire Museum and making the work of the nonprofits available to all of us. And we would welcome any of your nonprofit booths at the festival. Okay? So, Alexander Mitchell on fiddle, Rob Caswell, the program director at Common Ground, on the guitar, and this is a piece I wrote for the Winter Olympics back in 1920. Not quite.
You just heard is called Snowblind, and as Walt mentioned, is a Walt Michael and Company original that was written and first performed during the closing ceremonies of the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, New York. Thank you again to Robert Mitchell, who we heard on the fiddle, Rob Caswell on guitar, and Walt Michael, who again is the Executive Director of Common Ground on the Hill, who we just heard from on the hammered dulcimer, for being with us today to celebrate this wonderful occasion. Wasn't that lovely? Let's give them another round of applause. So again, welcome to the 10th anniversary celebration of the Carroll Nonprofit Center. My name is Katie Townsley, and I'm the Executive Director of the Carroll Technology Council. It has been my pleasure to serve as the co-chair of the 10th Anniversary Celebration Planning Committee, along with my friend and colleague, Brian Lyburn, whom you will hear from later in the program. Brian and I are also co-chairs of the Nonprofit Center's Tenant Committee, which is where this bright idea of an anniversary celebration stemmed from. Brian and I are full of bright ideas. You may be asking yourselves, what's the big deal? Why are they here celebrating the 10th anniversary of a building, of a center? First off, this building, this center, was a gift to the community from the Anverse Foundation and is a true gift to those of us who oversee nonprofits and who call this building home. The center is the only nonprofit center of its kind in the state of Maryland. Other communities have tried to duplicate it, however, none have been successful as they haven't had the financial backing to open their doors. In 2006, it happened in Carroll County, here in Westminster. It happened because of the Anverse Foundation. We are fortunate to have Mr. Marty Sonnenschein, the Executive Director of the Anverse Foundation, here with us today. Marty, on behalf of myself, the Carroll Technology Council, the other directors and nonprofits who call the Nonprofit Center home, thank you. Anverse is the primary benefactor of every organization in this building due to its in-kind support in providing us a home. For without this gift and generosity of the foundation, many of our organizations would not have offices, and we would not be able to continue our missions to serve the Carroll County families that we do. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our distinguished guests and elected officials. Mary O'Keefe, who is the assistant to U.S. Congressman Andy Harris. Melissa Joseph, assistant to U.S. Congressman Chris Van Hollen. Assistant Deputy Secretary of Maryland's Department of Health Human Services, Mike Corby. Maryland State Senator Justin Reedy. Maryland State Delegate Susan Krebs. Maryland State Delegate Haven Shoemaker. President of the Maryland Conference of the NAACP Maryland Chapter, President Gerald Stansberry. President of the Carroll County Board of Commissioners, Stephen Wantz. Carroll County Commissioner Dennis Frazier. Carroll County Sheriff Jim DeWeese. Westminster City Police Chief Jeff Spalding. Westminster City Council President Dr. Robert Wack. City Council Member Dr. Mona Becker. And I'd also like to welcome the tenants of the Nonprofit Center, your board of directors, and your special guests. So I'd like to ask you by a show of hands, how many of you are visiting the Nonprofit Center today for the first time? Okay, well, wonderful. There are a few of you. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. And for those of you who have also been here a long time, again, welcome. I'd like to share a little story with you about another family's first time visiting us. At 2 p.m. on a cold and dreary Wednesday afternoon in November 2011, when a husband and wife walked into the building with their two small children pushing a stroller. Mark Kreider, the Nonprofit Center's executive director, happened to be walking through the lobby that day, and 4 little words changed that family's life. Can I help you? Mark took the family into his office and quickly started doing an assessment. He learned that due to the local shelter being closed, that they were staying with a friend who was living in HUD housing in Westminster. The landlord found out that the tenants had guests staying with them and simply say, they, the family, go, or you all go. So the family was left her home and their friend and ended up going to the Goodwill to get warm. Someone at Goodwill told the family that they should go check out that big brown building down there. They might be able to help you. Mark started gathering information. The husband was 24 years old, his wife 23. They had 2 small children and were pushing a stroller. The boys were 3 and 1.5. And then they gave a third name. And Mark said, well, where's he? And the wife carefully pulled away the coats that were on top of the stroller and revealed a 4-week-old baby nestled in the stroller. The family had nothing. Nowhere to go, nothing to eat, no warm clothing, no food for the baby. Does that sound familiar? Mark got up from his desk and immediately walked across the hall to get to connect his office. And from that very moment, the doors were knocked on, phone calls were being made throughout the building, and we as tenants jumped into action. Catastrophic Help, Get Connected, Shepherd Staff, Meg's Diamond, which is a fund of the Community Foundation, Hugs and Stitches, Keystone, and the very reason that all these organizations are here today, the Anverse Foundation, they all immediately jumped into action. Within 2 hours, that family was warm in a hotel room at the Boston Inn where they'd be staying for the next week, all expenses paid. They had clothing. They had been given a gift card for $400 to Shoppers, diapers. Donuts! Excuse me. Diapers, baby formula. I had a golf tournament last week, donuts, sorry. Diapers, baby formula, transportation that included car seats, and a meeting set up with a counselor from Human Services for Monday morning, and even transportation to a place that would take them to have a hot Thanksgiving dinner the next day. Yes, what I failed to mention is that this was 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon before Thanksgiving, a time when most people are hurrying out the door to get home to their families and on to their own festivities, but not here, not the Nonprofit Center, a place where a mission for every one of us in this building is simply to ask, can I help you? So again, thank you to the Anverse Foundation for enabling us as nonprofit leaders and nonprofits to ask that question every single day repeatedly over 10 years to the people of Carroll County, for allowing us to serve our missions as independent nonprofit agencies. It's no wonder that Anverse was recognized by the Community Foundation of Carroll County as the Organizational Philanthropist of the Year in 2008, an award well-deserved. As you've heard me mention Mark Kreider, the man who opens the door to the building every single morning and who greets us with strangers the same way that he meets the tenants, with a smile and a, hey, how are you? Mark is the executive director of the Carroll Nonprofit Center and has served in that capacity since its conception. He worked with the team to design and develop the center. He previously served in the cable television industry, serving in various positions, including general manager of Prestige Cable here in Carroll County. Mark has served on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, the Community Service Council, and is a past member of the Bonds Meadow Rotary Club. He currently serves as treasurer of the Mid-Atlantic Gigabit Innovation Collaborative. Mark Kreider, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, what a crowd. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. This is absolutely terrific. I'm so impressed right now. So thank you all. Today we celebrate 10 years since the opening of the Carroll Nonprofit Center. But it's more than celebrating the bricks and the mortar. It's celebrating the years of service in this community. 13 years ago, during the planning and development stages, we set up several meetings, some 90 different agencies, and we explained what we were going to do. Build a center, offer rent-free office space, and conference rooms, meeting rooms, and trainings. Also shared space. What we needed from them was them to be a 501c3 that services Carroll County residents, meet within the mission of the Carroll Nonprofit Center, and be accountable for their mission and their goals. Their response? What's the catch? Well, I can tell you, after 10 years, I think we convinced everyone there's no catch. Since day one, we've had a waiting list of tenants wanting space. You see, the center allows nonprofits only in this location, but agencies outside this center to use the conference rooms, the grant research libraries, and the ability to collaborate and come together to better serve this community. Collaboration being the key word, because without collaborating, this center would not work. It's just like the story that Katie talked about and the many other stories of families walking through the front door, desperate, need of immediate attention, and see that these agencies kick into gear and do what they do best. It's truly, truly amazing. Over the past 10 years, I've been asked several times from visitors from all across the state that are trying to do what we do, even as far as California, Florida, and Pennsylvania, wanting to replicate the Carroll Nonprofit Center in their own communities. The number one question, how do you fund a center like this? Well, it's the private operating foundation and the willingness of a family to give back to a community where they once owned and operated a cable television business. 100% of the operating portion of the Carroll Nonprofit Center is funded by the foundation of Anverse Incorporated. Without them, none of this would be possible. In the past 10 years, they have given over $6.7 million of in-kind grants. It's also the generosity of local philanthropists that help these programs and these agencies continue what they set out to do. Another common question is what's the community impact from this center? Well, let me share some numbers with you. 34 different agencies have called this home. Some have moved because they got bigger and needed more space and we couldn't accommodate them. Some joined forces with other agencies to better meet their mission. And others completed their mission, which is a great thing. They did what they set out to do and moved on. Use of these conference rooms. They're open to any nonprofit. The usage over the last 10 years has been, these rooms have been booked 5,989 times for an attendance of 121,297. And let me tell you, Sandy keeps track of that, and they're right to the T. The state values a volunteer hour at $26.41 an hour. So when you calculate the volunteer hours that have gone into this building of 148,251 hours, that equates to $3,915,308.91. Thank you, volunteers. But the most important is the families that walk through that front door that we service. 55,376 have walked through that door for the first time in need of services. 1,900 of these are children that were enrolled through the Head Start program, which, by the way, was for several years the #1 Head Start in the state of Maryland for school readiness. That's kids leaving that program ready to begin school. That's pretty darn good. So in closing, I want to say thank yous, because there's a lot of them, but I can't name them all. But I do want to thank my staff, Bruce and Sandy, who helped me keep this place together. I want to thank Marty Sonnenschein, the executive director, for flying up today and joining us. I want to thank the planning committee. They did a great job and all their hard work for everything they did. And I want to thank Brian and Katie for agreeing to do the Master of Ceremonies. But the other important is I want to thank all of you for what you do, whether you're in government, whether you're a philanthropist, whether you're in education, whether you're in policing, or rather nonprofit services. You're the ones that make this nonprofit center and this community very special. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Audrey Simoneau. Audrey Simoneau, Esquire, good for you, lady, is one of the founders and executive directors of the Community Foundation of Carroll County, which has $6 million under management, includes 260 different funds. In addition to starting the local community foundation, she was instrumental in starting the community foundation in Parna County, Estonia. She provides counsel and technical assistance to many Carroll County nonprofit organizations. Prior to assuming her position with the Community Foundation, she was Vice President and Trust Business Development Officer for Carroll County Bank and Trust, which is now owned and operated by BB&T. Ms. Simoneau's undergraduate and law degrees stem from Essex Community College, the University of Baltimore, and the University of Baltimore School of Law. Audrey?
Wow. I had this all planned out, but we'll see how it goes. We all obviously owe a huge vote of thanks to the Andrews Foundation. That just goes without saying, and you've heard it already many times, and you'll probably hear it a couple of more. The whole process, as far as I was concerned, started in 2003 when Marty called and asked me to convene some meetings of the nonprofit Carroll County organization to discuss what the needs were and to encourage the support and efforts of local charities. Little did we know at the time the enormity of the gift we were about to receive. The general consensus of those meetings was space. Many organizations were being run out of Carroll County dining rooms, church basements, or in the case of the Community Foundation, a closet at HSP. God bless Sylvia Cannon. Anverse purchased this land here on Clifton Boulevard. Dean Camlin, who's here today, was the architect. He designed the building, and Henry Lewis Contractors started digging the foundation. And I can tell you that I spent many, many lunch hours staring at that hole, watching the concrete being poured, the superstructure going up, and dreaming about the incredible opportunities the building represented for all of us. On February 1st, 2006, the first of the tenants moved in. And from the very beginning, the cooperation and sharing and networking among us, must have been contagious. Because as the tenants moved in, they were confronted in this room, 2,000 square feet of furniture, office space, and equipment. The rule was, take what you need, and if you see something better than what you have, take it and leave your old stuff for someone else. And it worked. Chief among those donations was all of the furniture from the former Sturgill accounting office on Main Street in Westminster. What the Community Foundation walked into this building was with a lamp, which is still on my desk. I have Jim Sturgill's beautiful office desk in credenza. I love it, it's gorgeous. The local Gavigan's furniture store donated several sets of furniture, and it was not unusual for a truck from where we have no idea where it came from to arrive with other necessary items, and all of it was appreciated. One of the original tenants was the Carroll County Technology Council. Their membership, most especially Info Pathways, hooked up the computers for every tenant. A huge job that would have cost a fortune if we had had to do it ourselves. A few years ago, the Women's Club of Westminster donated money to purchase an art hanging system, which you see around the room here. And for several times a year, these walls of our meeting rooms are hung with beautiful, all local art, adding immensely to the attractiveness of the space. But the best part I've saved for last. I've told you about the networking and the cooperation, and Katie's already told you about our Thanksgiving family, but that is only one of many, many times when somebody's walked in this building and the same thing has happened. This building works magic every day, and we are really lucky to have it. Thank you.
For those of you following along your program, I am not Gene Lewis. I'm Brian Lyburn. I'm happy to share the MC duties with Katie today, and I'm honored to introduce Mrs. Jean Lewis. And I understand that Mr. Charles Harrison is joining her today. And I'll introduce both of them, and then you guys can share the stage together. Jean B. Lewis has been the president of the Carroll County NAACP branch 7014 for the past 10 years. Prior to assuming her role with NAACP, she retired from Lucent Technologies after 33 years as a project manager and customer service manager. Mrs. Lewis is a dedicated advocate and volunteer in Carroll County. She serves on the board of the Human Services Programs of Carroll County and the board of the Community Media Center. This year, she was part of a team that helped establish a historical monument to remember the Henryton State Sanatorium and Henryton School of Practical Nursing located in Marriottsville. And I'll add, Jean had the opportunity to share that story with me and about that school and sanatorium, and Google it. It's an awesome thing that she was a part of and that was dedicated. Mrs. Lewis is actively partners with the Carroll County Public Schools to recruit, hire, and retain minority candidates in our local school system. So we're honored to have her, along with Mr. Charles Harrison, is the past president of the Carroll County NAACP branch, is a retired supervisory special agent of the FBI. He has been active in the Carroll community since his 28 years of service in the FBI. Mr. Harrison is a highly decorated Army captain, was a highly decorated Army captain in the Vietnam War, where he served as an armed helicopter pilot. He joined the NAACP as first vice president and subsequently president during the development and move into the Nonprofit Center. His community involvement expanded to service on the Carroll County Ethics Commission, Shepherd Staff Board member and chair of the Community Media Center Strategic Planning Committee, vice president of the Carroll County chapter of the National Active and Retired Federal Employees Association, judge of the Carroll County Orphans Court, and member of the Carroll County State Democratic Central Committee. Mr. Harrison is president of Harrison and Associates, LLC, a security and intelligence company specializing in counter-terrorist matters. It's my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Lewis and Mr. Harrison.
How can we say thank you? I don't actually have words that really convey what being in this center means. But when Audrey talked about meeting in your dining room, my sun porch, and we also met at the Westminster Senior Center. When you meet at the Westminster Senior Center, this is what is required. You have to be there by 4 o'clock to pick up the key. You have to set up chairs. You have to make sure you put those chairs back, and by God, you better make sure you put that key back in that door. Coming here has been such a tremendous blessing for us. With us coming to the Nonprofit Center, we got light placed on us. We were able to meet with other organizations. I had Audrey who shepherded me through. Now, this is what you need to be doing now. She's laughing, but she's telling the truth. You really need to be involved in this, and whatever, Audrey made sure that I was involved in that. So consequently, I'm over-involved. But it has been truly a blessing for us as an organization, because if there is a question or a need, like the young family that came in, somebody in this building has that answer. Now, we've been told the building looks like a prison. I said, not to me. It looks like a palace. We no longer had to pay to have our telephones transferred from one home to the other when we had a new president to come into office. It has been a wonderful blessing to us, and we really enjoy being here and being part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just want to take the time to thank Anvers and the management of this facility for allowing us in. You know, when I was president of the NAACP and I'm reading the paper one morning, I found out about this location and the construction of the building. And the Carroll County Times made it read as though the facility was occupied. So working with then Mayor Kevin Dayhoff, we established meetings with Mark, and I think representatives of Anvers flew up for that meeting because of the concern. And my concern was that 10% of us never really get the word, so we need to learn how to communicate. This provided us with an opportunity. As a result of that meeting, we were present here. For me, this has been a terrific experience. And over the years, this brick and mortar building has taken on a new significance. It has gone from a brick and mortar building to becoming the soul of a caring and giving community. For the NAACP, thank you. You know, as Jean mentioned, we were moving from house to house and from location to location. The significance of being here afforded us an opportunity to actively and aggressively be a part of the community that's here. It allowed us to interface with the other organizations, to learn and to appreciate the significant role that the other nonprofits play in this community. It allowed the NAACP to find its niche in this community and to develop and progress from that point on. We understand being here and what it means to us and the recipients of the services that the NAACP provides. So I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you very much.
I would like to next introduce Sister Nancy Stiles. She is a Holy Union sister and former Head Start director here in Carroll County. She became the director of the Head Start program when Associated Catholic Charities became the grantee for the Carroll County program in 2000. She served in that position for 9 years. Prior to this position, Sister Nancy ministered as a teacher, school principal, director of religious education, and pastoral associate in New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. She retired from Catholic Charities in 2009 and now serves her religious community as grant writer and website administrator. Sister has served on the board of directors of the Partnership for a Healthier Carroll County and Habitat for Humanity of Carroll County. When Head Start director, she was active with the Early Childhood Consortium and the Judy Center. Sister Nancy?
Sorry, I left it hanging.
So I'm here to tell a little bit of the Head Start story. When Catholic Charities became the grantee for this program, and I was hired as the director in 2000, the program had been declared at risk by the federal reviewers and was seriously under-enrolled. For those of you who are familiar with Westminster, you'll appreciate this. The first offices were located in the Westminster Shopping Center, where the UPS store is now. So you can imagine how cramped that was. There was absolutely no privacy for any of the service coordinators, supervisors, or myself. Our classrooms were located in public schools in Westminster, Tawnytown, Union Bridge, and in a child care center in Sykesville. We had no meeting space, no place in which to offer trainings and hold parent policy council meetings. About a year later, we moved to a space on Airport Drive. This was some improvement, but still far from ideal. There, I did have a private office, but the family service and education coordinators had to share space. We had one classroom and some meeting space. The other classrooms were still in the public schools and child care centers throughout the county. I used to say I felt like the squatter of the county, getting space wherever I could for our program. And we paid rent at every location. Considerable travel was required of the education coordinator and family service coordinators, so the classrooms were properly supervised and families visited. There was little opportunity for networking and resource sharing among the teachers, as classrooms were located 10 to 12 miles apart. The Head Start offices were located at Airport Drive when Ann Verst first came to speak to me about the possible donation of space. After a few meetings with Marty, Mark, and Kathy, we thought it was time to meet with John Rosinko, head of the Children and Family Services Division of Catholic Charities, of which Head Start programs were a part. After the meeting, during which John looked extremely skeptical, he asked, "So what's the catch?" John simply couldn't believe what he was hearing. Marty's smiling, he remembers that. Watching this building being constructed was exciting. We knew we would soon have a state-of-the-art space. We knew it would be a model Head Start center. What a boost and recognition of the importance of our work. Head Start was one of the first tenants to move into the center in early 2006. The children helped with the move by coming to the new center with some of their classroom materials and possessions, so they had some ownership of the new classrooms. And this little ritual of transition for 3- and 4-year-olds was absolutely the cutest. Being here was really a dream come true. We had adequate office and meeting space. Staff had access to a resource library and a break room. 5 of our 6 classrooms were now located in the same building, much more conducive to resource sharing and networking among staff. All service, transportation, and education coordinators had cubicles which they could make their own. We had a large conference room used for meetings, trainings, and many other events. Every classroom has its own storage area, and in between every 2 rooms is a set of bathrooms, and the toilets are about this high. They are really pint-sized. And of course, there's no rent, just a utility fee, as with all other agencies. Classroom supervision and interaction with family service coordinators became much easier. Another plus, as has been mentioned before, is that partnering agencies were located just upstairs. So community networking as well as program networking became so much easier. The design of the Head Start Center included space for 3 early Head Start classrooms. That program became a reality in 2009, and we enrolled children for 2 infant rooms and a 2-year-old room. So the space is full and has been for the past 7 years. The program has doubled in size since 2000. It is flourishing and receiving excellent reviews. It is fully enrolled and often has a waiting list. So this building has provided Head Start with not only space that is the envy of other preschool programs, but really assisted us financially as well. And our children have the advantage of an ideal educational environment that many preschoolers do not have, all because of Ann Versa's gift to us and to Carroll County. I retired from Head Start in 2009, but have remained very involved in the building, particularly with Habitat for Humanity, which is housed on the 3rd floor. I have seen that program grow from a struggling agency located in a small office donated by a local church to an exciting affiliate which is building homes and offering rehabs and repairs, made possible by the Nonprofit Center. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Mark, Sandy, and Bruce for their support through the years, and Marty, thank you, Anvers.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today's the day to celebrate. Once again, I'm Brian Liburn, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Carroll County, and I'm honored to be celebrating here with you guys today. It's such an awesome day and such a wonderful thing that happens inside this building, and it's just tremendous to be a part of it. On behalf of the Carroll Nonprofit Center staff and tenants, would first like to thank all of you guys for being here today. The number of people in this room shows just how far our work reaches into this community. So we thank you for being here today and being a part of this. Would like to thank once again our elected officials for being here today. It's through your support of the tenants that serve here that we're able to serve our missions and impact the lives of so many of your constituents. So we thank you. I'd like to thank each and every one of the speakers who are here today for sharing such wonderful stories about how this building has impacted their organizations and ultimately their missions and the folks living in the community that we all serve. I'm proud to be a part of that. I would like to thank my co-MC, Katie Townsley, for her leadership throughout the planning process for this event. Thank you, Katie. We'd like to thank the Tenant Committee and Event Planning Committee for your support and hard work to make this happen here today. I'd like to thank Amy Guilford and her team at the Marriage and Relationship Education Center for the PowerPoint presentation going on at the back of the room. They're also the ones that outdid themselves and upstaged us all by having a wonderfully, beautifully decorated door. So thank you. Would like to thank, once again, Walt Michael and Company for the wonderful music. Would like to thank a couple of people who helped make today possible. Would like to thank Aquino Financial Group. They donated the use of the high top tables that some of the food is on around the room. Would like to thank St. John's Portico. They donated the use of the stage that we've all stood on here today, so we thank them. like to thank the guys with the headphones and the cameras here. Thank you guys for being here today and helping us to promote the work that happens within the building. Would also like to thank the staff and students at Silver Oak Academy who have brought the food, who are coming around and serving the food. This is just another example of how nonprofits can work together in this community towards a common goal and mission. So we appreciate them being here today. And then I'd like a quick show of hands. Can everybody who works for one of the organizations in this building raise your hands? Thank you guys. Keep up the great work. It's a thankless job we do sometimes. Also like to thank anyone else who has volunteered, helped with one of these organizations with this event today, and that has played any part in the success of any of the missions carried out in this building. We thank you. As you've heard from so many people today, we owe the biggest thank you of all to Anverse and the fantastic staff within this building. I want to thank Marty again for making the trip up from Georgia. Thank you for being here today. And I want to say a special thank you, they've been mentioned before, but to Mark Kreider. Where are Bruce and Sandy? Put your hands up. And Sandy, Bruce, where are you guys? They're out here. Sandy. Bruce is out fixing something in the building. Thank you, Bruce. They make our lives easy in here. They provide a wonderful service to us. They do so many things for us as organizations, and they're such an important, integral part of our missions here within this building. So we thank you guys once again. I know personally how huge of an impact the in-kind support we receive from Anverse has had on our mission at Habitat. Anverse is one of our largest donors, and I am so thankful for your continued support. I am proud to tell the story of this building and what gets accomplished here. I know that Habitat for Humanity of Carroll County would not be the growing, strong organization that we are today without you and the Carroll Nonprofit Center. Thank you again and again. In closing, I would want to encourage everyone to explore our building. I think everybody's going to have their offices open. Self-guide yourself around the building. If you're interested in seeing the Head Start space down in the basement, there'll be somebody out near the elevator that can escort you downstairs. It'll be Sandy is waving at me that she will be helping folks out with that. So take a peek at the center down there. Enjoy some of the delicious food. Take some time to network. And once again, I thank you for coming out, and everyone have a wonderful afternoon.